This is Humans in the Loop, a show about the unseen cost of innovation, the people behind the products, and the lines we draw, sometimes too late, between progress and principle. Every episode, we trace the human consequences of decisions made in rooms most of us will never see. Sometimes those decisions save us. Sometimes they erase the very people hired to slow us down. So, what happens when the algorithm comes for the people who built the failsafe? Not the ones who trained the models. The ones who whispered caution while the room chanted scale. The ones who asked, "Should we build this?" right before the door clicked shut behind them. This is a story about how systems forget their conscience. How even the architects of ethical guardrails aren't immune to the blade they warned us about. How safety, when inconvenient, is the first thing to go. Because in this system, silence is more efficient. And efficiency, we're told, is everything. I'm Ezra Strix. Stay with us. Before we jump in, a quick word from two brands that know a little something about good intentions and gentle unraveling. Because some weeks, even the best plans need a soft place to land.
Introducing the GridJoy Kindly Unraveled Crossover Drop, a trauma-informed calendar drop for people who don't need time management, they need time forgiveness. For people who plan in good faith and unravel reliably by Wednesday, you need the limited edition Soft Plans Sharp Edges collection. This trauma-informed productivity toolkit includes a permission to pause weekly spread, an unscheduled breakdown tracker, glitter-accented that can wait sticky flags, and dual-branded grid paper that fades gently, as the week does. Plus, every planner includes a Kindly Unravel emotional check-in guide printed inside the cover, with grounding prompts like, is this task actually urgent? Would rest move this forward more than guilt? And are you planning to regulate or to perform regulation? Also available, the detachable overcommitment alarm, now calibrated to your last 3 burnout cycles. GridJoy and Kindly Unravel. Plan with tenderness, break down strategically. Begin again without punishment.
And now, on to the story of what happens when the guardrails you built turn out to be temporary. Here's how we're telling this one. First, Act 1, before the cut. Before the layoffs, when it felt like maybe you could still make a difference if you just tried hard enough. Then, Act 2, the cut. The moment everything changes, the layoff, the meeting, all of it. Sudden, blunt, and weirdly quiet. And finally, Act 3, the reckoning. What's left after it's over? The questions that stick around, the work that doesn't just disappear, and the stuff nobody puts in the press release. All right, let's start at the beginning. Act 1, before the cut. They weren't the loudest in the room. That was never the job. Their job was to notice what others didn't. The unintended use case, the mismatch between training data and real life, the way a user with a name not in the top 1,000 might vanish from a system that claimed universality. Their badge still said ethics and society, even as the team's headcount shrank and their invites stopped including strategy. Quietly, they kept lists in OneNote, things they flagged, things they said they'd fix, things that shipped anyway. It wasn't paranoia. It was the pattern recognition, and lately the patterns had changed.
The last time I spoke up in a review meeting, I got a private message. Love your passion. Let's take this offline. We never did.
This is James, a member of that team. He had a lot on his mind, both work and personal. At home, his partner was just starting to show high risk, the doctor had said. Not urgent, but not nothing. They'd muted their calendar during appointments, taken calls in the hallway, and drafted policy notes in the back of OB waiting rooms.
Every time I flagged a concern, I felt like I was taking time away from the baby. And every time I stayed quiet, I felt like I was letting both of them down.
But the future doesn't always wait for the ethics review. Sometimes it ships while you're sleeping. Sometimes it writes itself. They were hired to ask hard questions, but lately, every answer came with a smile and a shove to the sidelines. The writing wasn't just on the wall, it was in the reorg decks. The missing headcount, the sudden silence in group chats once leadership joined. Still, they stayed, because you don't walk away from a fire just because the extinguisher's small. You try anyway. You stay because the work matters. You stay because the alternative is worse. And then one day, the system made a different kind of decision. Act 2, the cut. There was no warning, just a meeting invite with a title so vague it could mean anything, and meant everything.
I told my partner I'd only be 15 minutes. Didn't want to scare them. We had another scan scheduled that afternoon.
Your role has been impacted. This decision was not based on individual performance. You'll receive a severance package.
50 people, one call, a team built to ask hard questions, cut with algorithmic precision, gone in under 20 minutes. The director of AI ethics laid off. The most senior humanist voice in the room vanished. And from the top, silence. Not a word from senior leadership, not even a facade of values. The survivors got employee assistance program links, burnout webinar invites, half-hearted pep talks from managers who were just as stunned, some of them demoted to ICs mid-reorg. No answers, no raises, just the unspoken mandate: absorb the work of thousands and be grateful you're still here. If all this has you feeling tense, or maybe just ready to howl at your monitor, you're not alone. There's a new micro break for that.
Remember when deep breaths were supposed to fix burnout? Cute. Meet Stretch and Screech, the micro break system that lets you elongate your spine and unleash a legally ambiguous howl, all before your Slack status flips back to green. 1 minute of chair-friendly motion, 1 cathartic roar, 0 calendar invites. Our app auto-mutes conference calls, flashes a fake connectivity issue banner, and pipes in spa music so no one suspects you're mid-exorcism. Side effects may include sudden lucidity, impulse career moves, and an inexplicable urge to renegotiate your KPI to sanity ratio. Consult facilities, legal, and your favorite white noise playlist before sustained use. Take the break HR forgot to budget for. Download Stretch and Screech today, because some problems can only be solved at 110 decibels.
Of course, no amount of stretching or screaming could really change what came next. In the aftermath, colleagues posted goodbyes that read like obituaries. The survivors offered resources, referrals, recommendations. But in the context of an unprecedentedly awful job market, their offers of assistance rang hollow.
I'm heartbroken, they wrote. Please reach out for anything. Truly, I mean it.
But the survivors still had jobs, calendars, paychecks, peace of mind, at least for now. Even worse, managers posted reflections that read like eulogies for their own empathy.
The next day, my former manager posted a heartfelt message about tough decisions. I almost commented, but what would I even say? You're grieving a system you still serve, and that system just fed itself your team.
The reorg wasn't just messy. It was surgical. A clean slice through the soul of the company and the story they told outside, flattening. Agility, efficiency. Inside, it felt like erasure. Act 3. The reckoning. Weeks passed. The press moved on, and the company's stock, it soared. Profits hit records. AI products went live. Demo videos circulated with words once written by the very people no longer employed.
I kept a folder. Not out of spite, but memory. Old slide decks. Model risk memos. Things we were proud of. Things that mattered. Now, they're footnotes. Replaced by performance metrics and LinkedIn announcements.
They could have told a different story, a story of responsibility, of shared purpose, of human-centered innovation. Instead, they chose silence and speed, and when ethics slowed them down, ethics got cut.
Maybe this was the plan. No such thing as bad publicity, right? Let them trend. Let the world debate whether ethics even belongs in tech. Meanwhile, ship the next product.
They stayed quiet for months, until it was safe to speak again, until the noise had passed, and the trust could be rebranded. James is consulting now, advising on responsible AI. But responsibility isn't a brand. It's what you do when no one's watching.
I don't want my job back. But I do want the truth to live somewhere. Because even if the system forgets us, we remember.
You've been listening to Humans in the Loop, where we trace the line between what we build and what we choose to break. The hardest part of this story isn't that it's rare, it's that it isn't rare at all anymore. When layoffs become routine, when silence replaces answers, when the people hired to keep us honest are the first ones out the door. It's easy to lose track of what accountability even looks like. But memory is its own kind of protest, and telling the truth, even if no one wants to hear it, is sometimes the only way we outlast the erasure. To everyone who saw the storm coming and stayed to do the work anyway, we see you. To the ones who were forced out but refused to disappear, we remember. If you want more stories like this, or if you have one of your own, visit loopedinhumans.com. There's a contact form there if you want to share or if you just need to know someone's listening. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Follow at Looped in Humans on social for new episodes, little teasers, and the kind of behind the scenes that's really just us figuring things out as we go. And if you want to support what we're building, Patreon members get early access and a few surprises we haven't thought of yet. And just a quick reminder, the ads you heard in this episode, they're pure satire. No planners, emotional check-ins, or micro breaks were actually sponsored in the making of the story. We do these ads as commentary, because sometimes the best way to talk about what's broken is to laugh about it a little. But if you happen to be a company whose values actually match your mission and you want to help us keep telling these stories, reach out, seriously. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening. I'm Ezra Strix. Back next time with more stories of Humans in the Loop.
This episode of Humans in the Loop, Algorithmic Exit, was written and produced by me, Christina Simmons, creator and executive producer of this show. Voice talent for this episode, Frederick Halperin as James, and Rana Cassidy with the thankless role of HR, because someone always has to read the script. Rana Cassidy is also our operations producer who somehow keeps this whole thing running and manages to be both organized and kind about it. And a special thanks to Ezra Strix, AI narrator, podcast co-conspirator, and the voice you can count on to ask the questions that linger long after the credits roll. For more episodes, FAQs, and to share your own story, visit loopedinhumans.com. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for a sneak peek at our next episode.
Next time on Humans in the Loop, what happens when the person delivering the layoff message never saw it coming either? We step into the manager's shoes, the sleepless nights, the impossible script, and the moment you realize you're just as replaceable as everyone else. A story about what it feels like to break the news and what's left after the algorithm moves on. Our next episode is called Out of Nowhere. Coming later this week, stay tuned.